If you're having suicidal thoughts or feelings or feel like you have no hope, please call 988. There, you can talk to someone who not only cares about your story, but cares about you. Please reach out today. Thomas P. Murphy once said, "Minutes are worth more than money. Spend them wisely." At Minutes Wisely, we take that to heart. Our mission is to decrease veteran suicide by providing life-changing experiences for veterans, first responders, and Gold Star families. We believe that we can make a lasting impact by rekindling a sense of purpose and fostering community through sponsored tickets to sporting events. These experiences are not just about the game, they're about the moments that can change lives. A simple sporting event can boost joy and instill a sense of renewed hope and purpose for those who have served. Join us in making a difference. Become a moment maker and empower a veteran with rediscovered hope. Visit minuteswisely.com for more information and to get involved. Together, we can make every moment count.
Good evening. How you doing?
Hello.
Hey, John, before we get started, I'll just give you a little backstory. I don't really have any announcements. October 18th, there's a veteran music fest at Hop Springs. If you're in Murfreesboro area, swing by and say hi to us.
And the VA Fall Festival is the same day at Alvin
Awesome.
C. York.
Great. Thank you.
Excellent. So, Andrew and I started a podcast 3.5 years ago. And as I was, as we're talking to these veterans, I find that we're talking to a lot of broken souls. And the podcast started gaining some speed. We actually won a national podcast award. And then, started making a little bit of money, not a lot, but I didn't feel right profiting off of these men and women's stories. So what I did was to explain the photos that you saw in our intro. I started a nonprofit, and our goal is to stop veteran suicide. And the way we do that is we send veterans, first responders, and Gold Star family members to events. I live outside of Nashville, but I'm from Detroit, so that explains the season tickets with the Detroit Lions. I wanted to bless my hometown first, but now we're doing fundraising. And so we're working on, Preds tickets and maybe Nashville soccer and whatever else we can get a hold of. I'm actually in the works with the vice president of what's the that gun place that we just went to? Outpost Armory.
Outpost Armory.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. He's one of our VFW members too, by the way.
Great.
Mr. Toy or something?
Yeah.
So I spoke with him. And what my goal is to get a corporate membership there, not just a regular membership. I want a corporate membership. That way I don't have to be there. I can just send veterans and first responders right to Outpost Armory, and they can have, they can shoot free of charge on us.
It was so much fun shooting with you and Tony, man. It really was.
So we're always trying to think outside the box, what we can do for veterans and first responders, get their mind working, get them out of their funk, and see what we can do to help them out. So that's what drives this podcast. So
yeah,
awesome.
I have a couple announcements real quick,
yes,
and then John will get to your amazing story, because you're an amazing guy. I follow you on a lot of different mediums. But October 5th is for all you listeners out there. Vet Fest down in Brentwood, Tennessee. I am the logistics POC. So, Fleek, if you want a table there, let me know. We're going to start setting up on the 3rd. And it's going to be guarded by the Tennessee State Guard. So they're going to be there for 3 days. So you can leave your stuff there. It's not going to be touched. Like you said, October 18th, we got a bunch of events. But October 13th, for you guys, is the Navy birthday. And I am doing, as a Ton Tavern militia commander for Murfreesboro, Tennessee, I am hosting a Navy birthday Ton Tavern fundraiser with two of my colonels, one senior Navy chief, and a worshipful master of the Freemason Lodge, which it's held in. And we've got a silent auction, 50-50. It's on Eventbrite. It's on Facebook. It's on Instagram. It's on LinkedIn. If you want to go, let me know. Facebook me, message me, whatever. And I think the links will be in this podcast when it goes live. So that's it.
Awesome. So, John, would you like to introduce yourself? Who is John Barry?
Who's John Barry? Who is he?
I'm John Barry. I am a veteran. I'm the CEO of Barry Law. We are a law firm that has three verticals. We represent veterans nationwide. We help them appeal their VA disability claims. And then in Nebraska and Iowa, we also handle personal injury and criminal defense matters. So I probably got to tell you how we got there, right? Because why are we doing all three? And it really starts with my father, a Vietnam veteran. He had a famous case where he defended the commander of the 5th Special Forces in a murder trial and subpoenaed the sitting president, Richard Nixon. My dad got the case dismissed. He came back and he was a successful lawyer, was practicing in New York. His mother, he's from Ottawa, Iowa. His mother falls ill and he goes back to Nebraska to take care of her. And when he's there, he starts helping veterans just pro bono. He's representing them, whether it's an injury case, a murder case, a contract case, whatever it is. He's reaching out to his brothers and sisters. As you know, we did a horrible disservice to our Vietnam veterans. Yes, so my dad wanted to make that right. And he saw how despicably the VA were treating his brothers, coming back and saying, hey, I have problems. They called it shell shock back then. They didn't even have a PTSD diagnosis. They were not being taken care of. And so my father started representing them pro bono. And usually the way they would come to him would be, they'd be going through a divorce. There would be other problems. Legal problems would manifest from PTSD and other issues. And so my dad just made it his mission to help out as many veterans as he could. And back then, lawyers couldn't get paid. In fact, there was a Civil War statute that went back, a statute that went back to the Civil War that said lawyers couldn't get paid. I think it was like $10, right, to represent a veteran, or you'd be charged with a crime.
What?
So, it was crazy. It was crazy. And then they developed through the federal court system. There's the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. Now there's the Federal Circuit, United States Supreme Court. So veterans can work through the administrative level of the regional office, through the board, to the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, up through the federal system. But back then it was one of those things that just not a lot of people did. Not a lot of people knew how to do it. And most lawyers said, well, I'm not going to make any money doing this. Why do I do this? But for my dad, it was important because he started off his career. Well, he was an infantry officer, but he went to Vietnam as a JAG lawyer. And, he was very proud of what he did and how he was treated there. He talks about where he was on a plane and a soldier was sitting there on a crate and said, sir, take my seat. And they noticed that JAG insignia and it meant something. Right. I mean, I was an infantry guy. We made fun of the JAG guys, but to my dad, it was a big deal.
That's why I like you, John. I knew you were infantry. I knew it.
Yeah. So then he started the practice, and then the law changed in 2007 that allowed us to continue basically to charge a fee after veterans were denied their initial claim by the VA. And so my dad started doing that and kind of built that into our other practice, which is primarily trial practice. Now, back in my dad's day, if you were a trial lawyer, you would try a contract case, you would try a rape case, you would try a car crash case. It didn't matter. And my dad said, look, I rose my hand to support and defend the Constitution of the United States in the military. And as a lawyer, you take a very similar oath. And so my dad, of course, took that very seriously. And he wanted to continue to support and defend the Constitution, one client at a time. But he also, wanted to protect those in uniform, as he had done for several years, in Vietnam and beyond. And so that's really how our firm started. I was a lucky kid. My parents were both very entrepreneurial. And when I was 10, I had a paper out and I had no curfew. I had no rules. It was, hey, you want to make some money? Go to your tassel corn, get a paper out. I did, and if I was, you're late coming home, great. You got, baseball practice tomorrow morning. You're going to ride your bike. You're going to be tired, but you're going to learn. And so I had a great childhood. And then I wanted to play college football. And that was my goal. That was my dream. I ended up going to New Mexico Military Institute my last years of high school and knew that I did not want to go to an academy. I had enough of military school. And so I went to play, and I got to play with some great athletes. When I say play, I sat on the bench, but Mike Tomlin, Steelers head coach, Sean McDermott, Bills head coach, they're on my team. Great guys, great leaders. I got injured about my sophomore year. And so I realized like I had worked so hard, right, to get into great shape. And I thought, man, what would be the next challenge? And then I saw something about the Airborne Ranger. And I thought, wow, I've been spending, years trying to bulk up, eating 7 meals a day, working out as hard as I can. Like, what if I had to go through this program where they starve you and deprive you of sleep and just beat you down? Could I do that? And so I really got excited about that opportunity. And so I decided that that's what I was going to do. I became an infantry officer, and I went through first time I went through airborne school. Is pretty easy, but the first time I went through Ranger school, I failed out, got injured. 6 months later, I went back and graduated, got my Ranger tab, and then went to my first unit, 1st Cavalry Division, Alpha Company 1-5 Cab, the Grim Reapers, and we deployed to Bosnia in 1999. Whoa. I thought it was going to blow up because we started bombing Kosovo right when we got there, and this was going to go from a peacekeeping mission to a war fighting mission, but it didn't. And so then I came back, and as an officer, when you have your 3 years in, it's like, okay, you're going to go to your captain's career course now, or you can go special infantry, you go special forces if you get the opportunity. And so, there are options. And I'm like, well, what's the other option? And they're like, well, you can be a deadbeat on the staff for the last year, be the assistant S3 or something. I was like, well, I don't want to do that. What else? They said, well, the reserve component needs experienced junior officers. You can go to the Nebraska National Guard if you want. They need a scout platoon leader. You're Ranger qualified. Why don't you go over there? And then you can go to law school, and they have something called tuition assistance. They can help pay for law school. So I had an ROTC scholarship that paid for part of my college, and now I'm getting money for law school. So it was great. And then about my second year in law school, battalion commander came to me and offered me a company command. And then about 3 years later, I was still in command, and I was a new lawyer, and I was burned out. And I said, sir, I can't keep doing this. I can't do both. He said, John, you don't have to. Your company's deploying to Iraq. You're going to get orders in the next month. So then I went to Iraq as a company commander, loved it, came back, finished my career with a little over 20 years. My last position was the battalion commander of the Officer and Warrant Officer Candidate School, which was a phenomenal experience, building those young leaders. Oh, that was great. And so, similar, while I was on that, reserve component track, I really, as a trial lawyer, I really wanted to do a lot of things, win a lot of trials. I was working at VA disability benefits. I was, doing a little bit of the personal injury stuff, a little bit of the criminal stuff. And, I had all these goals, and I wanted to win all these trials. And then I got to I was about 40 years old. And it's like, I'm going to retire pretty soon. Like, what's next? And I really started thinking about the organization and how much I missed the Officer and Warrant Officer Candidate School. And I said, what I really want to do is I want to develop leaders. And, lawyers are technicians. Most lawyers are not leaders. And so, I saw the issue there, and I said, a friend of mine who was a Marine infantry guy, funded law program, was the general counsel of the oldest law firm in the state of Nebraska. And I'd had some cases with him, some against him. And at the time there, he was trying to hire me. He had lost his chief litigator. He said, hey, just come over, work for me. And I said, no, why don't you come work for me? And we laughed about it, over a couple of beers. But a year later, he was on my team and said, let's build this. And so that's where we went from there. And then I hired a guy who was a G6, also Ranger qualified guy. He was the G6 for the Nebraska National Guard. He became our CIO. And we just built our entire C-suite with military officers. Now it didn't last, obviously. People come, people go. You can't be 100% military all the time. But when we started looking at who do we want to hire for these positions, we knew that we wanted to hire former members of the military, either enlisted or officers, so that we could have that staff that operated like a battalion command staff, so that when we worked a problem, the staff would work the problem. I got to be the battalion commander, come in the room and say, okay, course of action 1, 2, or 3. And I say, yeah, they all suck. We're going course of action number 4. You probably had a commander like that, but no, so that's what, yeah. So now to be honest, most of the time, 99% of the time, I would go with the staff recommendations. But and I was practicing law and growing the firm, and we really wanted to help more veterans and hire more veterans. And next thing I know, we're over 30% veteran but over 100 employees, which was great. And then we won the Department of Labor Platinum Medallion for hiring veterans, and the Pro Patria Award for the ESGR, the hiring of the Guard and Reserves, because we had so many guardsmen and reservists. And I just found that, if you could hire somebody who understands the culture, it getting them up to speed and getting them to be productive and profitable is a lot faster. And so, life is just a lot more enjoyable when you have veterans that you're working with. And you know what I'm talking about.
Agreed.
We live in a very soft society right now where, I was taught feedback is a gift. And to be fair, it took me till I was about 40 years old to really accept that, to not get mad. But working with veterans, I realized like how easy it is to be direct.
I'm working on it. Okay, Fleek, I'm working on it. I still get mad, but I'm working on it. Sorry, John.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, and that's okay. And I say in our meetings, when we have staff meetings and we're trying to wrestle with an issue, I want it to get bloody. Hey, violently agree with me, violently disagree, but the best ideas win. We are a meritocracy. And the other thing is, look, we represent the nation's heroes. We represent veterans nationwide. And, we've got lawyers in 8 different states right now. And I'll tell you, sometimes it's tough to get everybody on the same page, but that mission of supporting our nation's heroes, I mean, that is something that resonates throughout our organization. And that's something I am very proud of. And while I will never be as good of a lawyer as my father, I built a better organization. My dad was a phenomenal lawyer. But when I came in, the organization was, it was built like you would expect lawyers to build organizations back then. He's the star. He even had a radio show where he was the paid host. But it just wasn't run like a great organization. And as much as I hated Big Army, and how dumb Big Army was, the more we've grown, the more I've realized how smart and agile the military is for the size that it is. So I really, getting out, I really
improvise, adapt, and overcome. That's right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I mean, even the logistical planning, you look at our recent deployments and just, in Bosnia in 99, it was very austere, right? I got there, we had a little fob out in the middle. We're just a task force out in the middle of nowhere. I got to Iraq in 2005 and I got to Al-Assad, we're the army unit on the Marine base. You know how that goes. But man, the logistics were amazing, right? There with Chow Hall.
Yeah. MWR.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Gyms. Yeah. I was like, whoa, what happened?
You were there in 2005 in Al-Assad?
Yes.
We flew in there, 3-8 India. We flew in there January 5th, 2005 to Al-Assad.
I was there.
Wow. Small world. Very small.
Yeah. Small.
And you were what, like a major then? Captain?
I was a captain. I was a company commander. So, and I also had some soldiers in Fallujah as well. But Al-Assad, you see the movie Dune, and you see, and it's like, you look out there, and that's what you see, right? It's like, whoa, like there's nothing out here. But
that is so astute of you, sir. That is spot on right there, just like Dune.
Yeah. Yeah, we had, I remember one incident where the insurgents blew the water pipe. So we were the army guys, hey, go out and fix it, right? So we go out there, the Seabees, right? The Seabees are going to go fix it and clear it from, but, it was nice to get out there to get out and see the Euphrates River because, most of that area was just, desert. And, no.
We were, Ramadi, Fallujah. It was just horrible. Man, that is so cool, sir.
Well, I always think too, I'll go to one hellhole once, right? Like I have some friends that they did several tours in Iraq or Afghanistan, but they didn't get to the other one. And when I went to my battalion command school in the National Guard, I'm like, I got 2 deployments and I ran into some of my active duty counterparts who I was like second lieutenants with at Fort Hood and they're still active duty. And these guys have had, 5, 6, 8 deployments, in their careers. And it was just
too much.
Iraq, Afghanistan, back and forth. And I was just like, wow.
The deployment tempo during the early 2000s was ridiculous. We would go and then come back. Then we'd train. Then we'd go again. Then we'd come back. We'd train. Then we'd go again. I did 3, but the third one was on a Navy ship. But the first 2 were terrible, awful.
Yeah, well, and, I think back to, there's bad things about everything, but it's almost like what they call the Disneyland effect, where you look at the pictures and you think back to the good times and you forget how bad some things were.
No. Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But to be fair, I enjoyed both of my deployments. And I love adventure. I love to travel. I love to read and learn about the region. So for me, they're both great experiences, but I suppose if I had 5 or 8 deployments under my belt, I might have a different perspective. But yeah, you look at the pictures, you think about the things, you don't remember that when the wind blew, it felt like a hairdryer on your back. You know, you look at it and you say, oh, look at this, it's so great. But
or the sandstorms, that was, oh man, those are tough.
Let me tell you. So they put us in charge of what we called the sand lot in Al Asad. So my first sergeant ran it, and all the what the Marines would call the ash and the trash go there. So anybody, Navy, Air Force, whatever, we would house them, right? Because that's what we were the largest Army unit, so they gave it to us. And we had this Air Force major. She came in, and we were requesting stuff through MNCI, so up through Baghdad. And she asked for carpet, and I was like, "Ma'am, you're not getting carpet here." She's like, "Captain, I'm going to order this." No, ma'am, you're not going to get carpet. I said, "There's going to be a dust storm in 2 days, and you'll know why." You know, and then, you know, all the buildings, everything, you know, 2 inches of dust, you know, and so I think she got the message after that. But yeah,
freaking carpet.
Wow. I have one question. John, where did you go to law school?
So I went to Creighton here in Omaha, and I was great school. When I applied for law school, it was right after I finished undergrad, and I knew I was going to be an active duty infantry officer. So I was going to defer. And most of the schools said, we'll give you a year. You know, there's the JAG program, there's other things. Right. And Creighton said, you know, take as long as you want. So for me, that was the obvious choice.
Wow. And you're a litigator, from what I'm hearing. That was your primary thing, litigation?
Yeah. So, I mean, right now I run the firm. So, okay. But for the first, I would say for almost the first 20, I've been practicing for 21 years now. But I suppose if you take out, you know, probably the first, most of what I did was VA disability appeals and trying cases. Yeah, mostly trying criminal cases. And so tried a lot of cases, had a lot of fun. You're definitely supporting and defending the Constitution when, you know, we think back to everybody gets one attorney, and it doesn't matter what the allegation is, they are presumed innocent. And it's my job to make sure that I support and defend the Constitution for that one client. And, you know, that can be tough because it's much like being in charge in the military. Someone just put their life in your hand, right? When I was a company commander, it was like, hey, you're responsible for America's sons and daughters. If something happens, you will answer that. And as a lawyer, it's not much different when someone comes and hires us and chooses us and says, you know, hey, I've been in a horrible accident. I can't pay my bills. You know, I don't know what I'm going to do. I need your help. We could lose that case and they could be bankrupt, right? Or a homeless veteran who the VA hasn't, you know, paid their benefits and they're, hey, I need help. I don't have a place to live. I need all these things. You know, they're coming to us. Someone who's been falsely accused of a crime, right? Who has worked their whole life, you know, for especially, you know, retired military members I've represented who have sacrificed a lot. And then all of a sudden, you know, something goes wrong in their life. They're falsely accused and their entire future's there. And they come and they say, you know, and they hand you this burden, but that burden, that pressure, right, is a privilege. And as leaders in the military, we know what that feels like. And in some ways it's addicting, right? I want to be that person who people come to and say, John, I have a problem and I trust you. And because that just makes me work harder, makes me hungrier. And when I have a cause, right, that's what matters. And I think for a lot of our brothers and sisters that have come back and have not done well, it is because there's no team and there's no mission. And so one of the things we do at Barry Law is we want to hire veterans, give them that team, give them that mission. But also this is what veteran led is all about. I started getting back pay awards for a lot of veterans, you know, and they would say, well, what do I do now? You know, that's great. Like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I can feed my family. I have shelter, but what I don't know what to do. Like, do I get a job? Do I do this? What do I do? And some of them couldn't work. And I said, look, like, you know, you have leadership skills. You can go out and do something. And I've worked with a lot of people who have had leadership degrees, who have experience in the civilian world, who don't hold a candle to non-commissioned officers. And I'm like, no, you can give back. You can do more. Start a nonprofit, help a nonprofit, volunteer, start a business, but do something. And so that's really where veteran led came from, where I started talking to veterans who built a bigger future after the military. And some of them had great military careers, but that wasn't the end. And I'm sure you gentlemen know those people, especially those senior non-commissioned officers, that as soon as they retire, they just start dying.
Yep.
And they really do die fast. It's like there's no mission, there's no purpose. and they just don't have it. And once again, I think especially for soldiers suffering from PTSD, it's tough when there's no team and there's no mission. But man, I'll tell you, I still get the same feeling I had as a new second lieutenant when I would show up at 5:30 in the morning. All my non-commissioned officers were there and they're ready to smoke me. You know, they're like, oh, okay, LT, let's see what you got today. And man, but I was on a championship team and our mission mattered. And I had the best platoon in the battalion. And so that's the feeling I've always tried to get back to, with Barry Law is, we have an important mission, just like we had the military, hey, we're protecting our nation. We're protecting the Constitution of our nation. We're protecting veterans. We're protecting the falsely accused. We're protecting the injured who are being taken advantage by insurance companies. So we have a great mission. People rely on us. And that's why I bring veterans onto my team, because they get it. Right? It's like, no, we're not going home at 7:00 tonight. We are going to stay till the job is done and it's done to standard. Our client needs this result and we're going to do everything. We can't guarantee a result, but we are going to do everything. And I'll tell you what, that beats I can't probably say any bad words on here, but
you can. You can say whatever you want to say on this thing.
That absolutely beats the shit out of going home at 4:00 every day, knowing that I didn't make a difference. And I've been in jobs like that, and I will never go back to that. I love having a great team, a great mission, and helping people who earned it, right? Who has earned our help more than the American veteran, right? Who raised their hand, who volunteered. Now, our Vietnam veterans didn't, and that's my dad's generation, and that's why he gave back, because they didn't have a choice. But we all did. And, I'm not saying that we didn't get – I will tell you, we've got some great advantages from it. But look, this is America's best, the 1% who volunteered, who went out and did something when most kids are sitting around playing video games. I mean, come on. When our nation called, we responded. Yep. And to me, anybody who did that is a hero and a friend, and I want to help.
Hell yeah.
But that being said, look, I have one brother who's Air Force doctor. Air Force paid for his medical school. My other brother was a SWO Navy guy, went to Stanford on a full boat Navy scholarship.
Good school.
2 years. Yeah, 2 years active duty, and then they cut him loose because of OIF and OEF, and then he goes to sign out on his terminal leave, and they're like, "Hey, we can give you this $10,000 signing bonus to go to the Pacific Fleet and stay in the reserve component." I'm like, a signing bonus? Are you kidding me? Like, they didn't have that shit for me.
What's a signing bonus? I didn't get one.
Yeah. So it was crazy. So he got 4 years of Stanford paid for, and then he gets to go to Hawaii every week or once a month. I'm like,
great school, Dad. Yeah. My dad went to Stanford. Great, a beautiful campus, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, my dad went there as well. So
your dad went to. When did your dad graduate from Stanford?
So my dad graduated he graduated from Northwestern Law School in 1965. So I would imagine 1959 maybe, right? Because 3 years old. Yeah. 58, 50. Yeah. In the late 50s.
And my dad was there in 64. He loved it. He rode for Stanford. He loved that school. That's a great school. Damn. Good athletics.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like I said, I was fortunate to be born to great parents who really just let me run wild as a kid. And so, like actions and consequences. And that was one of the best lessons I learned is you want something in life, you go get it. And if you don't get it, it's your fault. You want to make money, go make the money. And I just, in the military, there were no excuses, right? It was like, hey, when I failed out of Ranger School and had that injury, I wasn't going to be able to come back for 6 months. I could have went to my unit, but I said, no. I want this opportunity. I want to earn this. I want to prove myself. And, that's really no different than most people in the military. If you think about, I want to become a sergeant or, whatever it is, I want to get commissioned. It's having a goal and building a bigger future every step, right? That's what I love about the military. Move up or get out. We are building leaders here. We're serious about it. And, if you want to just hang out, you could maybe be an E4 mafia for a while, but especially as an officer, you're either moving up or you're moving out.
I couldn't make sergeant. I got NJP'd for drinking at Camp Fallujah in 2005. So I missed sergeant by probably about 300 points. But that was my fault. I owned it. Okay. I called General Order 1 Alpha. Okay. I got battalion level NJP and I learned from my mistake. And it made me a better Marine for the second deployment and the third deployment. So
yeah, that's That's great. And, it's interesting how, NJP changed. So when I was in Bosnia in 99, we had something called a negligent discharge.
Oh, indeed. November Delta. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And so that was, and it was, you could get an Article 15, but here's the deal, right? That was, or I'm sorry, it was called an accidental discharge in Bosnia, right? And you could get punished, but you might not. But then I get to, Iraq, and it's a negligent discharge, right? They just changing the word from accidental discharge to negligent discharge made a huge difference. But of course, the problem was that it was like they wanted this mandatory punishment assigned with a negligent discharge. But as you know, people come back into the wire late at night, tired, things happen, right? Especially when you've got soldiers living on no sleep. And it sounds like you got to Al-Assad right before they got rid of the Red Bull and replaced it with Rippets. You know what I'm talking about?
Rippets! Yes, and we had the chow hall had the near beer in the green can and the red can. It was the O'Doul's.
Oh yeah, that's right. I can remember I had just gotten into country, and I was going to reply. My counterpart, the other company commander, was there, and we were going out on a mission. Like the night I got in, he's like, "You want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to go." So, and I was part of the ADVON, so my it's like, cool. Yeah. Let's go.
That's the advanced party for all you guys.
The advanced party. Oh yeah, sorry. And so I show up, and I'm like, let's, because the all the logistics stuff is going to come. I just want to get boots on the ground first. Let's first sergeant fly with the main element. And I get there, and we're at the chow hall, and the company commander's driver goes, "Hey, sir, are we going to be out there for more than 24 hours?" He's like, "I don't know." And this kid walks over, opens up the refrigerator, opens up both cargo pockets, just shoving as many Red Bulls as he can into his cargo pockets, carrying them out of the DFAC. And then, and good for him, because then they changed it to Rippets, right? So what are you going to do? And I remember the first time I had one of those, I was doing something, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the gym pretty soon, get some exercise. I drank a Rippet, and it just like knocked me out. So had the opposite effect.
Oh man.
Hey, so if somebody gets turned down from the VA for their benefits, what's the next step? Do they come to see you?
That's a good question, Fleek.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we help do that. County Veteran Service Officers help do that. But yeah, for us, we handle cases all the way up through the federal courts. So normally what happens is a veteran will file a claim at their local VA regional office, and they'll either get, it depends on how many claims they file, right? But generally speaking, they will either get service connected at a certain percentage, or they'll get denied. And for those that get service connected at a certain percentage, that percentage may not be right. And so they may want to appeal that. And those that get denied may want to appeal that. And so then, right. And so then we can appeal it. And there's the Appeals Modernization Act has I think has helped that out. I don't want to get into the details here, but to talk through all the options there. But then the next, if you move vertically through the opportunities, then there's the Board of Veterans Appeals in DC. It's an administrative court. And then after that is the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claim. And this is the first time that it's outside of the VA. So we are the lawyers opposing the VA's lawyers. And then from there, it can go to the federal circuit, and then from there to the United States Supreme Court. So, and so one of the problems that veterans have a lot of times, and there are some organizations out there that are, they're not accredited, and so and they're not lawyers. That is one term. And here's the problem. The problem is some of them are telling veterans just to refile the claim, right? Or don't. We had one guy come, he said, "Well, he told me not to appeal." And I'm like, "Well, why not?" Why? And as you know, you lose that effective date, right? And then you have to start over, right? And then the standard is harder too. It's not now called, it used to be called, you'd have to present new and material evidence. I think they call it now like new and relevant evidence. But the point was the VA made it harder to file the claim a second time. So not only do you lose all that back pay, but then you also have to deal with, the new standard of, well, we already denied your claim, right? So, what's the new evidence? And so and once again, even if it was the VA's fault, that's the problem. So I think one of the biggest mistakes that veterans make is they don't appeal their claims. And some of these claims that have been sitting around for years, right, to the veteran may be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars in back pay. And it's not unusual for us to have a case that goes from the regional office to the board, to the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, gets remanded back down. And, it's now been 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And that's the amount of back pay that they're sitting on. And if they just start over, they're going to lose that money, which in many cases is, in the 6 figures.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, like a year and a half ago, I got turned down. So I just kind of dropped it. I was one of those guys who just said, F you, man.
Well, and a lot of veterans do. And, it's kind of funny. Insurance companies do this, right? Like, someone says, hey, I got injured. Okay, whatever. We're not paying it. Right. And then the lawyer gets involved. Okay, we're going to take you. Okay, well, now maybe we'll settle. And to some degree, though, I think most people, they say, I'm going to give it a shot. If I get denied, I get denied. But it's not like it. Sometimes the denial doesn't. You're denied not because you don't deserve it or because you don't qualify. It is because perhaps, maybe you didn't do a good job filling out the form. Maybe you didn't submit the evidence, or maybe the VA screwed it up, or maybe there's just a miscommunication somewhere, or maybe you missed your comp and pen exam, or maybe, and so a lot of veterans, I think, unfortunately, they file once, they get denied, and they're kind of like, okay, screw it. Like you said, I'm out of here. Like, screw it.
Yeah.
But it, and that's unfortunate because, I mean, if I'm paying my tax dollars, I want to help veterans, right? That's where the money in my mind should go, to help our nation's heroes, those that support us, because we need a strong military. I mean, you look what's happening in Russia, China. I mean, we need to continue to have a strong military. And to do that, we have to be able to recruit. And to be able to recruit, we have to take care of our veterans, to say, if you raise your hand and you bleed for us, we will take care of you. And so it's sad when veterans come back and they say, well, I have these disabilities. I'm not being taken care of by the VA. And like I said, there's resources. There's county veteran service officers. There's all sorts of resources out there, but most veterans aren't aware of those resources. And I want to say the VA does a great job of informing. I mean, they put the information out there, right? But it's still, I mean, if you don't know what you don't know. I mean, as Donald Rumsfeld said, there are things that we know that we don't know. Then there are things that we don't know that we don't know. And I think that's what's so difficult, is that, a veteran just says, well, I can just fill out this piece of paper and send it in. And sometimes it's more complicated than that. You may need evidence. And look, I'm sure you guys remember they tried to digitize
you got to do work. If you want to get it, you got to put the work in sometimes.
Yeah. And it used to be, hey, they're going to digitize all of our records and it's going to be great. And that didn't go over so well. And, sometimes I got to tell veterans, look, man, you're going to need a buddy statement, or you're going to have to go raid the attic for proof. And I've had Vietnam veterans come to us crying. They say, I didn't serve in Vietnam, right? Because someone lost their DD-214, or, it's just amazing to me, some of the disrespect that happens. And I don't think it's intentional, but, and then those individuals don't follow up. Those veterans don't, pursue those appeals. So, in my mind, look, there are some individuals that, hey, they're rightfully denied. Absolutely. They don't have a claim. That's just how it is. But there are a lot of other veterans. It's unfortunate that they don't pursue those, because now if you were injured on, in the line of duty, and that, that your injury was caused due to your military service, you may have to come back a second time. You may not, maybe taking no for an answer is not the right thing. Now, for some, it is. Hey, this is not a service-connected disability, and that's just how it is. But when veterans come to me and ask, I'm usually like, well, if you think that this is a service-connected disability, go ahead and file. And we don't, at our firm, we don't file claims. We don't charge money to file claims. We only handle cases on appeal. And we generally will direct veterans to, we'll direct them to self-help resources or to their county veteran service officers if they need help filing the claim. And we say, look, if you get denied, and we can talk about appealing it. But for a large majority of veterans, the VA is working, and they are getting their disability benefits, and it's working fine. And, there have been some glitches with the PACT Act and some other things. And, and glitch is probably, I'm probably being generous, but, but this is a huge bureaucracy. I mean, think about this. Think about this, right? We had no idea that OIF and OEF were going to last for 20 years. Like now, I mean, just think budgetary for the military, armed forces. We didn't think we were going to keep deploying everybody. Do you think we had the foresight then to see that the VA was going to have to deal with all of these injuries? It's hard to really, point the finger, right? I mean, that nobody knew we would be there for this long. And there are some great men and women that serve the VA. Heck, we hire some of them. I mean, there are some really mission-driven people who work at the VA who absolutely care about veterans, and and it's a large bureaucracy, and so some of them get burned out, and they say, well, we love helping veterans, and we hire some of them, especially if they are veterans, right? But I can tell you, there's some great people. We have an award named after this woman who worked in the VA for over 30 years. She came and joined our team, and she was just going to do it as her kind of retirement job. She was there 70 hours a week, and she would not stop because she's like, I'm going to help these veterans and I'm going to find a way. And so there are some great people at the VA who want to help. So I know sometimes it gets to the point where people are bashing, but it's like, it's a large bureaucracy. It's not perfect. Any organization that big isn't perfect. And we're in the military. We love to talk trash, so I think that's always going to be there, but it isn't about whether they're good or bad or right or wrong. It's about getting the benefits that you earned.
And John, by the way, when you said that you don't charge your clients, you just made a whole bunch of people at the VFW very, very happy.
Well, yeah, no, in the service organizations, right? They don't. Yeah. I mean, no, initial claims, right? We don't, and I don't know. I'll just tell you, like, I don't know what's going to happen, right? There's the PLUS Act, there's the GUARD Act, there's all this pending legislation, right? But I've always felt, and I understand the other argument, right? It's like, wait a minute, like, if there is a need out there and someone can fill it, then they should fill it. My concern is, there's a reason why we have accredited agents and attorneys who are licensed to practice and permitted to practice at the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. And the reason for that, is because we want to protect our veterans. We want to take care of them. And, to be fair, as there's a large veteran population that suffers with mental health issues. We have a large aging veteran population. So some of our veterans are vulnerable, and they're vulnerable to all sorts of scams, right? I mean, you can go beyond like all sorts of things where, there's all sorts of ways where service-connected veterans are getting called and, talked into doing all sorts of crazy things. I mean, it's amazing to me, the amount of fraud that is out there, the attacks, right, on veterans. So that's why I think accreditation is so important, because we need to regulate that. And so once again, I think that so for us right now, because we are accredited, we are prohibited from charging fees for initial claims. So
you hear that, guys? Hear that? Very law right here.
Anyway, so that's how things are now. I mean, who knows, right, what will happen in the future, what will change the laws. But as things stand right now, if you're accredited, any accredited person cannot charge a fee. So, we're a law firm. We follow the law. We take an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And the way we see it is, we are the standard bearers. We have to say, we have to maintain the standard. Tip of the spear, in the courtroom. But if we were deployed, we'd be, tip this in the rear with the gear, right?
We're not rear with the gear.
Yeah.
Well, John, Fleek, do you have anything else? Or do you want to do the question right now?
You're the question guy today.
Okay, I'm the question guy. Now, John, I have to ask you, what is pick a number between 1 and 10 for your next. This is a big question, and you can extrapolate. You can go with wherever you want. 1 through 10. What's your
7?
Everybody
picks 7.
Everybody picks 7.
I know it's the safe choice. And, if you look at surveys, right, I always throw out 7s. So, 8, 9, 10 are good. 7 is neutral. 6 and below is bad. So
7's my favorite number.
7's a neutral number, but
Number 7, question number 7. What advice would you give to someone facing a difficult situation or feeling unsure about their capabilities?
Seek a mentor. I think if you're unclear, when your values are clear, decisions are easy, right? And if you don't know which direction you're going, you may need clarity on your values. And sometimes it's tough to do that on our own. It's tough to read the label from inside the jar, and we need someone on the outside to guide us. And I've been so fortunate to have so many great mentors in my life. That if you're what you described is what I would call stuck. If you're stuck, then get a mentor and get a good mentor, not a crappy one.
Oh man, that's great. See, that was short, sweet. Some guys were like going on for like 10 minutes but that was good. You nailed it, John.
Very direct.
You nailed it. Very direct.
Thanks. Well, I can be direct, but sometimes on podcasts, I've noticed people, like, you ask a question, some guy says, Yes, no, yes. I've been the host of that podcast, so I get it, man.
Well, let's go back to that. You've been on, I've been following you for a couple of weeks now. You've been on, you graciously accepted our podcast, but you've also been on Vet SOS. You've been on, were you on Jocko's podcast?
No, maybe you're thinking of maybe it was so I've had a couple guys on my podcast that might have been on there, but I have not been on there. No.
Well, you run a great podcast, and are you at your house? Is this where you're streaming from?
No, this is our Omaha office. So we have a studio set up here, and I like, for lawyers, especially if we're going to get in the courtroom, we want to record stuff, we want to test stuff. So we've got a pretty robust amount of equipment. We got great equipment, and we like to record, because at the end of the day, it's like in the military, you probably remember you did rehearsals for everything. That's how you win. And look, in the law, in the courtroom, second place is a loss. And in combat, second place is death, right? So we don't accept second place trophies here. And so, like if we're going to win, then we need to rehearse like we're here to get first place. So I am very big on, let's walk through everything, make sure that everybody's on the same page, because also courtroom technology has gotten so robust that, we need to make sure our exhibits work. We don't want to be the idiot fooling around with the PowerPoint slides. I've seen a major get tossed out of a briefing because he couldn't get his slides right in Iraq. So, I never want to be that person. So, we do a lot where we will watch ourselves and say, okay, that was good, that was bad. Let's figure out how we can do these things better. And for us, feedback really is a gift. So I'm a big proponent of recording, watching yourself, learning. We could probably go back and watch this podcast, and I'll look at all my, I won't do that because it'll be too painful, but I would listen to all of my verbal pauses, to parts where I'm rambling, to parts where I'm very choppy, and I'm going to be disappointed in myself. Right. I'm going to say, okay.
I think it sounds great.
Well, good.
I'm okay with it right now.
We're not perfectionists over here.
We aren't. But John, I've got a very, very important thing. Can you handle the truth?
Oh boy.
It depends on what level of truth we're getting at.
He's a lawyer. I had to do it, man. He's a JAG. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
No. Okay. The truth is, I've never been JAG. I went from infantry to logistics. So,
okay. Sorry.
But I'm a lawyer, but I'm not going to do my weekends doing law stuff. I mean, come on. but no, can you handle the truth? I think a lot of people can't handle the raw truth. And that's the problem with feedback, right? Is, you're not that good, right? I mean, I found out first time I went through Ranger School and failed out, I was not that good, right? I've lost trials that I should have won. I was not that good. And I think that, sometimes, the truth, the real raw truth, the brutal honesty either makes you or breaks you. Yep. And so, I think that real growth starts with telling the truth. And I don't know, man, some days I can't handle the truth. Some days I probably can't handle it. And I gotta, other days I it's easier to face it, but I think we all have days where we don't want to handle the truth, where, there are things that, if I think it's just too much, and that's okay. Right. And I run into veterans that all the time, especially veterans with PTSD. Hey, you know what? Yeah, this is the truth, brother. And, you're drinking too much. You're letting your family down, and it's tough to have that conversation sometimes, but to give them the truth. Right. And then they take it as, so you're saying, I'm a piece of shit and I'm worth. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to get it together. And I think, sometimes we're not ready to hear the truth. Especially when we're vulnerable, when we're beat down. And look, it's one thing to be in the military and every day be told, you're a boot, you're nothing, you suck. And every day.
Seniors called me a
but
boot.
You are a boot.
Yeah,
I am a boot. To both of you, yes, I am a boot. Yes, I am.
But it's easy to take that beating in the military because you expect it. But sometimes in the civilian world, when people you really care about, give you the truth, man, it can be. Think about that first girlfriend that broke your heart. Not too easy to take the truth, right? Took you a while. Are you good with it?
John, have you ever thought about going to either moving up and being a judge or going to politics?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Neither?
Never.
He would be. Hey, Fleek, I agree. I think he would make a great politician. I mean, he would be a great congressman or something, or senator, whatever. Sorry, John. That's a compliment to you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I have been approached, but I would tell you that it is it's not who I am. Okay. I handle, yeah. Okay. Now we're talking about truth, right? And I think if I'm going to be able to handle the truth, I have to speak the truth. I have to be true to myself. And I don't want those influences right now. What matters to me is taking care of my family and leading my team of veterans, lawyers, warriors. And that's all that matters to me. I don't need to wear a black robe. I don't need to, go to Washington, D.C. Everything I need is right here. I get to work with heroes every single day on my team, and I get to represent our nation's heroes in the courts, at the VA. I love what I do, and I would not trade that simply for a vanity play of, I'm a politician, because I want to help, and maybe I could help, but it's not about me. It's about the team, and right now my commitment is to my team, and so I don't want to, I at this point that I don't want to do that, and I have a lot of respect for judges. I greatly admire what they do, but man, I want to play the game. I just see that, and I have some friends that really enjoy being judges and watching trials. I grew up watching my dad in trial, and it was pretty boring. I want to be in the fight, not there making decisions about who's right and who's wrong. So I just don't think I have the temperament or the desire to ever be a judge. But the politicians, I'm a little bit sour on them. So, every election, I love what, are you better off 4 years? Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Well, if you're not better off, it's your own damn fault. No politician, is really going to determine your future. It's up to you to determine your future, and laws will change. The world changes, be adaptable, adapt, improvise, and overcome.
Improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Yeah, I messed it up, man. I screwed up the quote.
No.
You guys fix that on the.
We got you.
He can. It's the Army. You guys have like the Army Marines. We always had to be different. Like you guys say AWOL, we say Article 86. You guys, we say NJP. You guys say Article 15. It's the same thing, but it's just in different terminologies. So to differentiate between jarhead versus what's a negative, what's the term for an Army soldier, like a what do you guys are called, like? So like jarheads, devil dogs. What are soldiers called?
So see, people would say like a grunt is derogatory, but it's not. You're infantry,
no,
queen of battle.
I love being a grunt.
Yeah,
ground ready, unit not trained. I love that nickname.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of but I think it's more like
dog face. Dog face soldier. That's what you guys are called. Why
that's
are you guys called
that's not insult
faces?
either, though.
No, it's not. I love it. It's just. Why dog faces?
Right, you would say like you're a soup sandwich, you're ate up, you're whatever. But those are what those are the derogatory terms, like saying I'm a grunt or whatever.
A soup sandwich is bad.
That's a buddy. It's a Blue Falcon.
Blue Falcon.
Blue Falcon.
Yeah, you don't want to be that either.
Dropping dimes.
Yeah. I had a general come. I was at the National Training Center. A general officer came out. I said, a dime dropped is a dime well spent in training. And I thought that was pretty
horrible.
Good. Because he's like, look, man, we're not going to get better unless you start calling out your buddies when they screw up.
Oh, that's messed up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, messed up.
Hey, I mean, the E4 Mafia probably doesn't like that.
No, we don't do that. No, E4 Mafia, we don't do that.
Hey, but as a young lieutenant watching these field grades and then hearing it's okay for me to call them out, I was like, oh yeah, what now? No, but it was an important lesson because I think, feedback is a gift. And if we don't, sometimes call out our superiors, nobody's going to do it.
No one's going to do anything.
To their benefit. And God willing, they have the maturity to lead us. They will take that feedback seriously.
Yep. I agree. Well, John, this has been an honor and a pleasure. Fleek, do you have anything else?
No, I'm good, man. Thank you.
John, thank you for taking the time. I know you're very busy. damn, you're on LinkedIn like pretty much every single day. Every time I'm streaming, I'm like, oh, there's John. He's on again. But you're doing a hell of a job. And thank you for looking out for veterans. Thank you for your story. And thank you for your service to the United States of America.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you for what you do. It's an absolute honor to be on this podcast. And you know, I love to listen. I prep for everything I go on to. So I love your energy and your support of the veteran community and what you're doing. It is important. We got to take care of our nation's heroes, not because just because they earned it, but because the next generation needs to see what you're doing, to know that we honor our veterans. And if you sign up, right, if you take that oath, we will take care of you.
Yes, we will. God bless you, and God bless America. Fleet, God bless you.
I'm good. You guys good? I'm going to hit the end record button. Hold on for 1 second. Don't go nowhere. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys next Sunday.
We love you guys.